Okay, so this is a screencast. I just wanted to respond to last week's discussion. I thought maybe maybe by recording this and hearing my voice, I might be able to clarify some of this stuff. Please, as always, let me know if you have questions about this or if you have remaining questions about chapters 1 and 2 of G. Please let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. Um, I do want to start off by saying just how impressed I was by last week's discussion. You guys did a phenomenal job of working through that very difficult text. I really appreciate the work that you put into it and the effort that you put into it, and I'm impressed by the understanding that you had of it. I am also super impressed by the way that you helped each other through some of the more difficult concepts. I'm going to go over, the screencast is going to be going over some of the major questions that I saw repeated, but by and large, you guys did a fantastic job of explaining this to each other. So good for you. Thank you. You may be doing a better job at this than I am. Hopefully, the screencast will do a good job. So the first, this isn't necessarily the order that these appeared in the discussions, but I think a good order for understanding these things. The first concept that I want to talk about is this notion of semiotics. And semiotics really is just the way that symbols represent information or meaning. So my example here, on the one hand, the word love, whether written or spoken, can represent the warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you hug a puppy. Or this heart shape can represent the warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you hug a puppy. As a quick aside, look up the history of this heart shape. It's actually the the shape of a plant that the ancient Greeks and Romans used for contraception, and used so much that it is extinct. Anyway, um, so getting back on topic, semiotics really is just the way that symbols and the information that they represent interact. Um, which brings me to, and I hopefully we can understand these symbols, or an understanding of these symbols can lead to a better understanding of little d versus big D discourse. So this is actually a pretty straightforward distinction, and does get lost in G's prose, which, as many of you, if not all of you, I think, pointed out, can be confusing. There's a reason for that, and I'll get to that at the end of this screencast. But the idea here is that little d discourse is just the symbols. So the spoken or written words that represent meaning. So the word love or the heart shape, both of those are a part of little d discourse. In fact, the words that I'm speaking now, the sounds that you're hearing and the words that you're seeing on the screen, are also examples of small d discourse. Big D discourse encapsulates little d discourse. In other words, symbols are a part, little d discourse is a part of big D discourse. So big D discourse is the linguistic symbols and also everything else present in a situation. So for instance, the clothes that you're wearing, your gender, the tone of your voice, the setting that you're in, whether you're in a classroom. I like G's example, and it seemed like many of you picked up on the example between a formal dinner where everybody's wearing suit and tie and you're sitting next to, say, the Queen of England. Um, if that ever happens, invite me, please. But so the difference between a formal dinner and a family dinner. Perhaps you will use the same words, but those situations will slightly change the meaning of those words. That big D discourse will also change the kind of words that you use. So the big D discourse really is everything involved in the creation of meaning in a certain situation. This includes, of course, identity. So big D discourse has a lot to do with identity. You can imagine, I think I use the example of the real snowboarder all the time. I'm not even a fake snowboarder, but it would be really strange, I think, if in this particular communication situation, if you were listening to this screencast and I started calling things gnarly or I guess just gnar, any other snowboarder slang is is eluding me at the moment. But you guys, some of you who are quote unquote real snowboarders do know this slang. And your identities allow you to use this slang in a way that generates meaning within specific communities, right? So if I were to use the word "nar" describing James Paul G, it would be funny and weird. If you were to use the word "nar" when you're wearing, a backwards hat and a, Burton snowboard jacket, it wouldn't be confusing. People would know exactly what you meant as long as they were also members of that community and understood what that identity meant. Therefore, discourse creates and represents various identities. So you create yourself as a real snowboarder by using the word "nar," just as you represent the fact that you are a snowboarder by using the word "nar." Of course, as we well know, some identities in some situations have more power than others. This is a problem with racism. I don't know if you saw the recent story just a couple of days ago. An African American, actually I don't know if he's American, but a tennis player, pro tennis player, was tackled to the ground because he was mistaken. He's African descent, mistaken for the perpetrator of some crime. In this case, the big D discourse, the thing that communicated information, was the color of this guy's skin. And the information that it communicated in this particular situation was that he was a criminal. Therefore, he was tackled and arrested. So here we go. Questions of big D discourse. So the way everything that affects a communication in a situation is absolutely a question of equity and justice. Now, I should say, I'm not actually asking you to believe that, but I'm asking you to understand this perspective, G's perspective. Finally, I want to defend G just a little bit by saying that I think a lot of the actually pretty funny critiques of his language and the way he writes, all the parentheses and quotation marks and things like that, is actually a function of this big D discourse. You all are not necessarily the primary audience for this text. In fact, you're not really an intended audience at all. This is intended for graduate students and practitioners and sociolinguistics and researchers and people like that. And they understand that the conventions of certain grammatical formations and the way that language is used and the logic behind the way that different sentences are put together, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to show you, so I'm defending him a little bit, but all these things are, you are not yet real, quote unquote, real academics, and so you do not fully understand this writing, which is fine. I mean, you're not supposed to. So just as an example of that, I have this clip from 30 Rock where Tom Haverford, if you're familiar, forgive me, but I'll set this up a little bit. Tom Haverford thinks he's super cool and creates a lot of words that he thinks are cool. And I think this is a really interesting way to understand the way that the big D discourse values of a given word can change from just the word itself, even though it's two different words representing the same thing. The way that those words are constructed, what words are used to represent that thing, changes their kind of overall effect on an audience. You visit this URL if this doesn't work, but here goes nothing.
Forever young, I wanna be.
Hey, Tom.
What's up?
Do you want to go to lunch?
No, I don't really feel like going to JJ's.
We can go anywhere. Your choice. I'm buying.
Can I get apps and zerts?
Desserts are what I call desserts. Trays are entrees. I call sandwiches Sammy's, Sandoozles, or Adam Sandler's. Air conditioners are Cool Blasters with a Z. I don't know where that came from. I call cakes big old cookies. I call noodles long-ass rice. Fried chicken is fry chicky chick. Chicken parm is chicky parm. Chicken cacciatore chicken catch. I call eggs pre-birds or future birds. Root beer is super water. Tortillas are bean blankies, and I call forks food rakes.
Yeah, you can get as many desserts as you want.
Well, let's get in my Go-Go Mobile. Car.
Okay, so I think that's funny. Anyway, hopefully this has all helped you understand some of the major concepts from the first two chapters of James Paul G, and that'll lead into understanding chapter 5. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns via email. Thank you all. Bye.